How much for a pig? There'll be a market tomorrow. Well, I'm here today. 10 marks. How much for this beast? 6, 4. What are you doing? So, 4 marks. The moment she realized she had given birth to us, the very first thing our mother did was sell us to a traveling circus for a price even lower than that of a pig. That was not a line from a movie, but a bitter confession recorded from a real pair of twins, born to one of the most legendary Hollywood figures of that era. Hollywood once sold the world a flawless dream: spotless stars, model families, and children born to inherit the spotlight. But behind promotional photos and carefully edited narratives were births that were never announced, children who never appeared before the public. To protect their reputations, some stars chose silence, chose concealment, and in extreme cases, chose to erase their own bloodline. And among all the buried secrets, conjoined twins were what Hollywood feared most because they represented a truth that could not be edited, rewritten, or polished away. In today's video, we will explore a list of Hollywood actors who secretly had conjoined twins and what kind of fate ultimately awaited those children. 1. Abby and Brittany Hensel, 2 individuals sharing one body from the moment they were born. The story of Abby and Brittany Hensel began on what seemed like an ordinary morning in Minnesota on March 7, 1990. In the delivery room, all initial indicators were stable. There were no clear warning signs during the pregnancy that would have prepared the family for what was about to happen. It was only at the moment the baby was delivered that the entire medical team froze in shock. Before them was not a typical set of twins, but a single body with 2 heads crying at the same time. Medical records later confirmed that Abby and Brittany were dicephalic parapagus conjoined twins, an extremely rare condition, occurring in only a handful of cases among millions of births. 2 separate brains, 2 independent consciousnesses, 2 distinct personalities, yet they share nearly the entire body. Abby controls the right side, Brittany controls the left. Each has her own heart, lungs, and stomach, but they share one digestive system and one system essential for survival. This means no action can ever be carried out independently. Every movement, from walking and grasping objects to turning their heads to look at someone, is the result of constant negotiation. Immediately after their birth, the Hensel family was pulled into a whirlwind of medical debate. Some doctors raised the possibility of surgical intervention in the future, even though everyone understood the risks involved were not merely disability, but the life of one of the 2 children. Their parents, Mike and Patty Hensel, made a decision that would spark years of public controversy. They refused all separation options. In rare interviews, the family explained that they did not want to choose who would live and who would have to be sacrificed. That decision allowed Abby and Brittany to continue growing up, but also placed them directly under the intense gaze of society. In their early years, the family tried to keep the twins' lives as normal as possible. However, the physical reality made that nearly impossible. When Abby and Brittany were 6 years old, they appeared on The Oprah Winfrey Show in 1996. Hosted by Oprah Winfrey and broadcast nationwide, the episode caused an immediate sensation. For the first time, millions of American viewers saw 2 children speaking in turns, sometimes disagreeing, sometimes yielding to one another over very small things, such as choosing the color of a dress or answering the host's questions. After that broadcast, the media exploded. The New York Times, USA Today, and many major outlets published analyses not only about the medical aspects, but also about media ethics. Some journalists questioned whether television was turning the lives of 2 children into entertainment. On early internet forums, debates erupted around privacy, consent, and the psychological future of Abby and Brittany. From that point on, their lives became inseparable from the camera lens. When they learned to ride a bicycle, someone stood at a distance taking photos. When they practiced driving, reporters waited outside. When they applied to Bethel University, local media followed every step. The peak came in 2012 when TLC aired the reality documentary series Abby and Brittany. The show brought their everyday lives into primetime television, from classrooms and kitchens to deeply personal disagreements between the sisters. It was during this period that controversy intensified. Some television critics argued that the program went too far into their private lives. On social media, people began speculating about compensation, control over content, and the more sensitive question of who truly has decision-making authority when 2 people must live in one body. Although there was no evidence of coercion, the pressure of public scrutiny led Abby and Brittany to gradually withdraw from the media after the show ended. After everything, they chose a quieter path. Abby and Brittany graduated from university and became elementary school teachers, a profession that requires patience, stability, and refined communication skills. In the classroom, students see them as one teacher, not a spectacle. Yet outside the classroom door, the label of a special case has never fully disappeared. Any small change in their lives can still easily become news. The greatest consequence in the story of Abby and Brittany does not lie in medicine, but in the fact that their entire lives have been lived under a microscope. Every personal choice carries double the weight, not only because there are two people, but because society has always felt entitled to judge. Today, Abby and Brittany are often mentioned as symbols of adaptation and acceptance. However, their story is also a reminder that not every pair of conjoined twins in history has had the opportunity to choose, to be protected, and to live as full human beings. And by turning the clock back just a few decades, Hollywood witnessed another pair of conjoined twins, where public curiosity was not accompanied by compassion, and whose fate took a completely different path. 2. Daisy and Violet Hilton, sold, displayed, and drained by Hollywood. Daisy and Violet Hilton were born in 1908 in Brighton, England, into a poor family. They were joined at the hip. Immediately after birth, instead of being protected by the law or the medical system, they were pushed straight into a transaction. Just days later, their biological mother handed them over to Mary Hilton, a woman who managed so-called oddities. There was no protective contract, no social oversight. From that moment on, Daisy and Violet were no longer children, but property. Their childhood did not involve schools or friends. It unfolded on makeshift stages, traveling fairs, and cramped dressing rooms behind theaters. Mary Hilton controlled everything: performance schedules, money, and even how they spoke in front of crowds. British newspapers in the early 20th century described them with sensational language, focusing more on their bodies than their humanity. When the 1920s arrived and the American market developed a strong appetite for the unusual, Mary took them to the United States. In America, public curiosity multiplied rapidly. New York Daily News, Los Angeles Times, and many major newspapers repeatedly featured them, calling them a phenomenon. Promotional posters emphasized their difference to attract audiences. Ticket prices rose, and performance schedules became more intense. Behind the scenes, the sisters still had no control over their own lives. Concerns about exploitation emerged very early, but were drowned out by box office noise. The turning point came in 1932 when Daisy and Violet appeared in Freaks, a film directed by Todd Browning. The movie caused an immediate shock. Many theaters refused to screen it, and some states banned it outright. Critics were deeply divided. While the director and studio could step back to protect their careers, Daisy and Violet could not. Images from the film followed them for the rest of their lives. Every attempt to be seen as performers rather than shock subjects ran into an invisible barrier built by Hollywood itself. After the media storm, public interest faded by the late 1940s. Once they were no longer considered new, Hollywood turned away. There were no contracts, no savings, no protective network. The sisters tried to support themselves through small performances at local fairs. Their health declined over time. Some local newspaper reports noted that they were frequently ill and lacked adequate medical care. The people who once paid to watch them on stage no longer appeared. In January 1969, Daisy and Violet were found deceased in a small apartment in Charlotte, North Carolina. According to local police reports, they had passed away days earlier due to serious illness and complications, living in poverty. There were no stage lights, no audience, and no farewell from the industry that had once profited from their bodies. The consequences of Daisy and Violet's lives extend beyond their quiet passing. Their story stands as a stark warning about a system willing to celebrate difference as long as it remains profitable, and then discard it once its value is exhausted. Unlike Abby and Brittany, they never had the right to say enough. Unlike modern stories wrapped in humane language, the fate of Daisy and Violet exposes the rough, unfiltered side of entertainment history. From tragedies like these, rumors began to grow around other stars. The public gradually came to believe that behind the glamour there were hidden stories, births left untold, and secrets locked away in the name of image and profit. And from that shadowed space, even